think I know that a lot of our listeners are goalkeepers or goalkeepers' parents, and
Yeah.
everything that we've talked about so far is magnified, 3-4 times when you're a goalkeeper, because you have to find your dream school or the school that fits you best, and they have to need a goalkeeper. At some point in your 4-year career, you anticipate as a goalkeeper who's looking at schools having a chance to be the starter,
Yeah.
or having a chance to be the goalkeeper. And the question becomes, are you willing to put up with the day-to-day rigors at whichever level you choose, maybe you only wind up being the number 2 for 4 years, or the number 3. And, again, this is all part and parcel of choosing a program. And, so I think doubly maybe for goalkeepers, level, the level label should not make a difference, because you want an opportunity to play. Playing is the teacher, as we all know, right?
Exactly.
Training and everything is getting ready for that teaching moment of playing.
It's that 1% we're looking for, that Sam and I are looking for, to get you out of your comfort zone.
Well, darling, on my mind, I'm feeling so fly up in the zone now. I'm like a golden crown, whirling high up in the sky. Oh, it's the way you make me feel so good right now. It's the way you make me feel so good.
Hey guys, welcome to Coffee and Leadership with Pros. I am Amanda Forster, the head coach at Richmond Goalkeeping Academy. And today I have a couple friends. We have Coach Niko, one of our virtual coaches with RGA, and Evie, Eric Vaughter, good friend and mentor to John Bush, on with us. And today's topic is just, hey, what level should I play at the college level? What is the difference between D1, D2, D3? And also, what's the value of playing at club if I don't want to commit to those levels? So Niko, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. Amanda, thank you for having me on. Evie, it's always a pleasure. So I'm a former college coach, NAIA for the women's side at Point Park University for a few months. I was at Pitt for 3 years as the women's club coach there. I was the head coach there, and I'm also a goalkeeper coach for a U23 team out of Baltimore, women's.
Nice. And that's with the CCL Pro 23, correct?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Evie?
My name is Eric Vaughter. I've been doing this far too long, and have coached at all. Been very fortunate in that I've been able to coach goalkeepers at all levels in the United States, and have been able to kind of see various aspects of goalkeeping, which really and truly just boils down to keeping the ball out of the goal, regardless of what level you say you're playing at. But I think our topic today is going to discuss that kind of stuff, and so I'm looking forward to getting it going.
Awesome. Well, I'm here live doing this podcast, so there's a little bit of more background noise than we usually have. We're at our coffee sponsor of choice, the Local Cup, here in Mechanicsville, Virginia, 3 minutes from our field. So parents, goalkeepers, if you're nearby, it's a great hangout, especially with the fall cool season coming along. But let's get started, guys. Some of the biggest questions that I get is club worth it? And, what is club soccer? Niko, can you kind of share a little bit of the value of club soccer and how it's different from being a varsity athlete?
Yeah, so club soccer, it's a great way to continue your playing career. Just because you love the game, you want to still be involved, but you also want to focus more on your studies, because it's not every day I'm training, I'm getting up for training, I got team duties, I got to go work out in the gym. You don't have to worry about like boarding a flight, going to Boston for a day, playing a game, and then coming back at like 2, 3 in the morning. Because it's like that varsity level, that like college elite level is very demanding, not only on your body, but your mind. So it does kind of take away from your college experience to an extent. So for those athletes that don't really want that full commitment, play club. So I've actually had a few girls that have come down from the Pitt team and the ACC and Duquesne University. They just didn't want the commitment anymore. They transferred. Well, the Duquesne girl transferred to Pitt, came play for me. The Pitt girls just kind of decommitted, didn't go back to the school's team, and they just played club for me. And we had a really solid team, good group of girls, and it was honestly, from like coaching at the school's like competitive team to the club team, it was a great environment. Same type of environment. Everyone works hard, gets along with each other, and it was just a great experience.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I have a lot of kids that are kind of in that same boat. They're leaving school. They're really more academic heavy. That's their priority. And, you know, they're not like many of us that went to school to play soccer. I'm not trying to speak for you, Evie, but I know that was me. The diploma was last on my mind. It was what was our game schedule and how hard was training. I was ready to embrace it. But Evie, you've been at Duke, you've been at Vanderbilt. What other colleges and levels have you had experience at? And what are the difference between D1, D2, and D3?
Some of the other schools that I've coached at you know, and I've been lucky in that I've been able to sort of stay as a goalkeeper coach, you know, throughout my career, because I had sort of what's called parallel paths. I had business on one side and goalkeeper coaching on the other, but I've coached at schools like NC State, Sangamon State in Illinois, which was an NAIA school, UNC-Greensboro, which was a Division II school. I've coached with actually one of the greatest experiences I've had as a coach was helping a guy at University of the South over here in Sewanee who played for me at Duke years ago and is now the head women's coach there, or was. He's now retired, but and that was a Division III program, and I worked with his goalkeepers. So I've been able to, you know, as we mentioned in the opening, see a lot of different levels in the air quotes. And you know, you ask what's the difference, Amanda? There is no difference. When you step on the field, you're playing, and you know, I tell this story all the time. I've been lucky in that I've been coaching I've been able to coach in championship games at 3 of the 4 divisions. And I tell kids this all the time. You know what? When you step on the field, it doesn't matter if you're D1. It doesn't matter if you're NAIA. It doesn't matter if you're D2 or D3. It feels the same. You know, you want to win. It's a championship game, or if it's a playoff game. And so there is, you know, this whole label thing that we get sucked into, particularly through youth club soccer, and we claim development to get you to Division I and blah, blah, blah. The whole thing is playing, you know, and that's what the game was invented for. And you know, is to be fun. It wasn't to, you know, and everybody, you know what, a lot of people sort of harbor in the back of their minds when they're developing as players, I'd like to play pro. Okay. The fact of the matter, and a lot of them say, I'd like to play college. The fact of the matter is, of the kids that you're playing, if you're a U14 right now and you're playing on a good club team, yeah, you might get to college, you know, and you might play in college, but statistically, that's a very rare thing, you know, and it's even more rare atmosphere to get to the pros. So, you know, I always preach to kids, just enjoy what you're doing today and know that you've got a goal. It's great to have a goal. Everybody has them. And I'm not saying don't have goals to further yourself, but be realistic with yourself and just, you know, take it day by day and enjoy the camaraderie that you have as you're developing, regardless of what level, again, you know, that you're playing at. You know, the important thing is that you're playing a game because, you know, I saw a documentary on tennis the other day, and it's called The Lifelong Sport. And it's just they're right. You can play tennis your whole life.
Yeah.
You can't play soccer. You can't play soccer your whole life, and you certainly can't play goalkeeper your whole life.
I don't understand why. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. So, and you hate to be the old guy, the old get off my lawn guy, but seriously, you've got a limited window that you can play, and you should sort of drown out the excess noise about what level you're playing. Just go play. Go enjoy yourself. And if it's important enough to you, you'll figure out a way to get to wherever you want to get. And that's not just in soccer, as you know, Amanda. That's in life. And
100%.
Yeah, and so but it is unfortunately in the United States, we get caught up in the labels, and it's unfortunate because there, as I say, there is no difference between a Division II NAIA Division III national championship as a Division I. It's all the same. You go out, you want to win.
Yeah. All right, let's start at the bottom. Niko, if I want to play club, what will my commitment look like? Just maybe 3 or 4 key expectations of what I could expect going in. What's the tryout going to look like? What's the consistency? I mean, do people know how to trap a ball? Do they know how to play the game? Or is it kind of like rec ball in high school?
So to answer that question, it depends on the school, to be fair. So at Pitt, for example, I had the 1 year 120 girls come out for a tryout. Wow. Mind you, I already had 30 girls on the team, because once you're on the team, you're on the team, and the only way you can get off is if you say, hey, I don't want to play anymore. So I always carry about like 40, 42 girls just to have, because I have unlimited subs and whatever. So I'm going to take about 10 or 12 girls out of that 120. So that process goes in, and I always have 2 good assistants with me, just from the area that I know. So I bring them in, and then also have the captains of the team. There are two captains of the team. They come to the training session as well, and any girl that's on the team is more than welcome to come, kind of hang out and hop in to be a part of the fun for that week. So the tryout goes, we have 3 nights. It's usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 nights in a row. And then each night we just invite girls back. So say I have, only numbers 1 to 40 to come back the second night. Then we tell the other girls politely, thank you, please come out in the spring. And then we just kind of slowly cut it down to who we want on the team for that year. The level is usually pretty good. My team was, honestly, I was very fortunate enough. Everyone played at a very nice level. Touch was fairly good most of the time. Some of it was excellent. But there's always that time in the tryout where you have that girl that shows up in running shoes and is like, oh, I haven't played since I was 10, but I want to try it out. All right, come on out. I mean, some of the smaller schools, some struggle for numbers, and they can be on that team no problem. But if you get to some of the bigger schools, it's very competitive. Even like Fordham University in New York, their club team, that's their team, because they don't have an actual women's team at that university. So, I mean, their team is, when we played them in a regional playoffs a few years ago, we lost in the last minute, but it was tooth and nail, and the girls could ball. The girls could play, and it was just a really good game to watch and be a part of. And it's just one of those things where after the whistle, it was good. Can't do anything. Can't be mad. Nothing. Yeah. So I mean, the level's there. The level can be there, but I mean, obviously, you have some schools where it's just not fully there, because they're there for just strictly academics, or it's a smaller school and they don't have a lot of kids, and so the level changes. So I mean, it can go from a good level to a bad level, but it fluctuates. It's the same thing when you get to a competitive level, like NCAA, for example. You can go to Messiah's D3 program can beat some.
They're in my conference.
Really, yeah. The men's
They're
team.
A rival.
What's his name? I can't remember his name. He was at the Riverhounds for a little bit. Anyway, he built a dynasty there. Evie, do you know his name? You got to remind me. shoot. He coached at the USL level. It'll come to me.
Okay. I
But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm blanking
He's the
on
one
the
that
name.
he wrote a book, right?
He wrote a book.
Yes.
He turned a D3 program. He took all the scraps from D1 schools and made a solid D3 team. And that D3 team can beat a lot of big D1 schools. So, I mean, like I said, the level always fluctuates.
Yeah. Is it Michael Zigarelli? Or is that the guy
No,
that just wrote the book?
I'm gonna get the name.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
You
good.
guys
That's
continue. I'm
good
gonna find
perspective.
this.
Yeah, that's really good. I think that's a question for a lot of people. They get to their senior year and they're injured or they're, burned out. So that's definitely helpful. I know a bunch of people I could send this podcast to right now, and that would make them feel a lot more comfortable in their decision to go club. But then we also have junior college, some community colleges in the area. I know at least here in Richmond, Virginia, they've actually taken on a pretty competitive intramural team that competes against other local schools. Then you have NAIA, Division III, NCAA, Division II, and D1. So, of course, we all know D1, D2, that's where money is. D2, you have a lot more international students. D3, you're going to get more of a smaller class size, smaller school in general, and you're not going to get you'll get academic scholarships, but you won't get athletic scholarships. NAIA, I know there's also the Christian League as well, which Regent University in Virginia Beach is attached to. I know a few Tennessee and Kentucky programs are attached to that conference too. I know they give a lot of money similar to the NAIA, but when should I choose junior college? When should I choose NAIA? Maybe the NSCCA, I think it is, for the Christian athletic program and conference. Can you weigh in on that, Eric, and kind of just what are some key indicators of what programs I should look to and so forth?
I think, it's, you have to, again, like I said earlier, you have to be honest with yourself.
Sure.
We always tell kids, pick the school that if you broke your leg and your career ended, you'd still like to be at that school,
Yeah.
and everybody kind of gives that lip service. And, there's a lot of stories about kids that go to a school and geez, it doesn't work out and they don't like it. So they transfer to another school, and maybe that's the end of their playing career because, as we all know, you get into, Division II, Division I, Division III with some programs like Niko was referring to, the time commitment for a college athlete is huge. It's not just, 2 hours a day on the field. You got study halls, you got team meals, you got, weight training in the morning, and then the season's over. You're still got weight, strength and conditioning going on, and you're playing in the spring and in the rain and the sleet, and there's no games going on, and it's can be a grind, and it's a lot different than youth club level where you're maybe training 2 or 3 times a week and you like all your teammates and it's lots of fun and we're all going to play in Orlando, and when we're not playing, we're going to Disney World, and life is good, and mom and dad are driving us everywhere, and it's wonderful, and blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. It's different when you get into college and you got to study and you got, you got athletics, you got academics, you got social life, because you're supposed to have a social life when you're in college. That's that's why they made Animal House. I mean, if you didn't have a social life, you wouldn't have Animal House. So, so it's a very difficult decision. And you try to tell, I think kids all know their level, but when you're picking colleges, you're dealing with parents too. And that becomes an issue because everybody thinks their kid is the greatest kid ever. And, and you're supposed to as a parent, but you have to be realistic in, again, do I want to be, do I want to be a player on a Division I team where I know I'm probably not going to play much, but I'll train every day. But, I can say I went to Vanderbilt and I played on the team. Or do you decide, you know what, I want to play, I want to develop, I want to go out every day and be part of, be a key player on the team. And, you pick a school where that's a better opportunity for you. And, And so and like Niko said, there are club teams across this country in college that could destroy teams at any level.
Oh, yes.
Because
Yeah.
they got foreign players foreign students who've come in. Some of these foreign students may have had some professional experience overseas. These players can play.
Oh, yeah.
So again, to me, it's all comes down to what's the proper school for you. And if you're a student athlete, great. Student is first, athlete is second. Try to find the blend that works best for you.
Sure.
So, what's that guy's name?
Yeah.
Dave Brandt.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave Brandt, Messiah, former Pittsburgh Riverhounds, brilliant coach.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's, and one probably the best coach for sure, the best men's coach in the United States started the Indiana soccer program as a club.
Who was that?
Jerry Yeagley.
Mm.
And fostered, started as a club and fostered it to D1, and has won more national championships at D1 than anybody else has. And, it's an icon of men's soccer. And so, and I'm sure the same thing with Anson at Chapel Hill. He started as a club sport, and built it into a D1 sport. So, we get, like I say, we have to get away from getting stuck in the labels of, which is all ego driven. It is,
Very, yes.
And I get that. But again, the idea is to play, and the idea is to have fun. And, I think we lose sight of that too often.
I can't agree with you more. I think that was something. I mean, I grew up in a mecca of soccer in Virginia Beach. Half the girls started playing. I mean, we had just on my high school team alone, 3/4 of the team played on the regional ODP team. This is pre-ECNL, pre-Girls Academy and MLS Academy. And I mean, a few of the girls were already on the national team by 16 or getting invited to camps. And that wasn't just our school. That was like 4 different high schools in our area. I mean, they were playing semi-pro because that was the WUSA, the first women's pro league, hadn't formed yet. So this was the direction. And, so I remember being a part of the junior semi-pro team, and that was a part of the USL. I was part of their inaugural team. And I remember being down playing Castle in Raleigh, North Carolina, and going and seeing Anson Dorrance and sitting there talking to Anson Dorrance. And one of the girls took my question. She didn't know it was going to be my question, but it was my question. We had paper resumes. We didn't have the any of these online profiles or anything. And she said, "Hey, how can I get you to recruit me?" And he goes, "Are you on the national team?" She said, "I'm on the regional team." He said, "I'm not looking at you." And so, I guess my question is, what is, you have an amazing program like this, and everybody wants to play for UNC. Everybody wants to play for Florida, or Florida State, and many other great programs, Maryland. How do you get past that stigma? And, what makes a good program at the D3 level or D2 level or D1 level, or any of the other divisions, the NAIA? What is a good program? Maybe not the most popular and most broadcast on ESPN and have the most documentaries, but what is a good program for parents, I guess, and kids to kind of understand? Is it all about winning?
Go ahead, Niko.
I mean, in my opinion, it's very, very comparative because, like, for example, if I'm a criminal justice major, I'm not going to look at this specific school and this specific program. And there's also so many people involved. It's who's the coach there? Where's it at? Like, if I don't like the winners, I'm not going to go to Albany, New York. I'm going to be looking at a school in Florida. And they may be in the same league, but one team may be good, one team may be bad. Academics may be good here, but not as good over here. So, I mean, there's a lot of variables that go into it. I think it's just shopping around, looking at all the variables and seeing what's best for you. And coming from a person that's gone through the JUCO system, been recruited by NCAA and NAIA, I shopped around. I was talking to schools.
Can you tell us what is JUCO in case somebody doesn't know?
Yeah, so JUCO is NJCAA, which is community college. They have D1 and D3. Not much difference between the two other than that's their classification. If you're in the same vicinity, in the same state, you always play each other. And a lot of times, some of the D3s are actually better than the D1s. So I played there for a few years, and then I was looking to kind of go to the next level because you can only play 2 years at a community college. So I'm looking to kind of continue my thing. I'm talking to teams out in California, teams in the Midwest, and I landed in Pittsburgh at NAIA. But I mean, there was no real one place that I had my heart and soul set on. There's some athletes that are like, okay, I want to go play for Sasha at Maryland, or I want to play at UCLA, and that's it. There's some people that just have that, and that's their goal. And if they don't get it, they're still going to go there, and that's the end of the story. Me, I'm very whatever. Like, it's a part of my process. Wherever I see is best fit for me to grow and develop as an individual, as a player, as a person in general, that's where I see fit is best for me to go at the time. And it's so far, knock on wood, it's worked out for me so far. So in my opinion, there's not one set program for anyone to look at. It's what you want to get, where you want to be. And you don't have to have like a specific title where you want to be in 5-10 years or whatever, but just like a general direction of where you want to be. And don't have your heart and soul set on that specific thing, but just know that there's that general direction, because along the way, things are going to pop up and you don't know what's going to come about in life. So it's always good to have an open mind and be open to new experiences and life in general to like help you develop.
Yeah, totally. Evie?
You know what? Everything Niko said is 100% correct. And I think I know that a lot of our listeners are goalkeepers or goalkeepers' parents. And everything that we've talked about so far is magnified, 3-4 times when you're a goalkeeper, because you have to find, your dream school or the school that fits you best. And they have to need a goalkeeper. At some point in your 4-year career, you anticipate as a goalkeeper who's looking at schools having a chance to be the starter, or having a chance to be the goalkeeper. And the question becomes, are you willing to put up with the day-to-day rigors at whichever level you choose, maybe you only wind up being the number 2 for 4 years, or the number 3. And, again, this is all part and parcel of choosing a program. And, so I think doubly maybe for goalkeepers, level, the level label should not make a difference, because you want an opportunity to play. Playing is the teacher, as we all know, right?
Exactly.
Training and everything is getting ready for that teaching moment of playing. But so if you never play, then you're going to be a tremendous trainer after 4 years, so I think you just, as Niko said, you got to start with a very broad list, and it may involve small schools. I think he made a great point. If you don't like winter, don't go to Albany.
No,
if you like winter, that's a great place to go. So these are all things that have to come into your decision making process, and with your family's financial situation, because I don't think there's a college anywhere in the United States right now that's not expensive. I don't care what level you're talking about. It's expensive.
True.
So you have to find that thing that program that you think is going to fit you best.
So there's been a recent rise on a lot of these international programs getting on the same online recruiting websites in recruiting kids to come over and giving them the hopes that potentially they could, play pro in England or Scotland or Wales, Ireland, and other places. I know, Niko, you're currently at the Sports Management Institute, pretty well-known, accredited program. And Evie, I'm sure you're familiar with these programs, but how do kids, I've seen a lot of my kids get really excited and go, oh my gosh, I have a pro team interested in me. And it's like, that's not what you think it is. How do they sort through the mail, like these emails that they continue to get, and make good decisions and not get taken advantage of, I think is the nice way to say it. How do you know a legit program internationally from one that's just trying to take your money and use you and give you false hope?
Go ahead, Niko. You're over there.
I'm over here. Oh, yeah.
Mr. Rome over here.
Yeah,
How's that coffee?
Yeah,
How's that coffee?
Like I said before, today was my first day out of quarantine here. I absolutely loved it. It was a fantastic day. Anyway, through my process to even get here, aside from COVID, was decently long. I actually came to Rome a few years ago. I came to Italy a few years ago and played on a team that was kind of put together like an all-star team. Company invited me to come play, and I did. I got a message a few months after that saying, hey, we're interested in you coming to our program. It's a master's program, 1 year, gives you opportunity to play. You get a master's in coaching, you get a UEFA B. Are you interested in a meeting? So I took the meeting, met with them via Skype. I got up at I think 4 a.m. because they're 6 hours ahead over here. So got up at 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, took the meeting at 5 a.m., bright and early, which is always fantastic. To have a serious meeting. And then they were in Chicago that year. That's where the coaches convention was. So this is probably about 3 weeks before a convention. I'm like, okay, I'll see you there. So within 2 days, I booked my ticket, made all my reservations, and I flew to Chicago to meet with them in person. Face-to-face is always good because then you actually get a feel for it. You can talk to someone on phone, send endless emails, but you never have a physical interaction with them. For me, I always like to be face-to-face with someone at some point if I'm interacting with them in any type of business or serious life event. So for me, that was a big thing. After I met with them, I think we sat at this coffee shop for about 2 hours and just talked about coaching and playing and methodology. And after that conversation, we both very mutually felt that this would be a good fit. And then they're like, okay, here's the 10 things you need to do to officially apply. I got in my 10 things, got accepted. And the day after my college season ended last November, I signed to come over. So, that was my process for those kids. Cause I know there are some programs for youth players in high school saying, hey, come to Spain, you can study here, and they call themselves a professional academy. They may be a professional academy. There are those, don't get me wrong, but there are also those that are quote unquote affiliated with clubs that aren't directly they don't have a direct pipeline to that team. It's just kind of a linked partnership where it's a good educational experience, but it's also, the words are somewhat twisted sometimes, and it's not always what you think. Evie, please tell me your thoughts, because you're a brilliant person in this soccer world and know 10 times more than I do.
Well, here's what kids have to remember, and I think sometimes we overplay our abilities. If you decide you want to try to play professionally in Europe, okay, it's like the National Football League, right? Those are the best players are the guys that are playing on those teams. The best players from those countries, cities, regions, whatever you want to call it, right? This is NFL level professional athletics, right? And if you know anything about the NFL, The NFL doesn't have guaranteed contracts, right? If you don't perform, you're gone. Just watch kickers in the NFL, right? If you're not consistently hitting field goals, you know what? Tuesday, you don't have a job anymore, right? And our soccer kids are not used to that scenario, and so, you say that you want to be a pro over in Europe, get ready for cutthroat, right? And it's survival of the fittest every day, because that's what keeps the level up, and so, kids, I was working for Adidas International when Landon Donovan was with Leverkusen. Okay. And the word was that he was miserable,
Wow.
Well, yeah, he's miserable because here's a California kid in Leverkusen in Germany in December. And if you've ever been to Germany in December, it's cold, dreary. It's not quite snowing, but it's like 1 degree away from snowing, which is worse than snowing, right? And it's week long, that kind of weather. And he's out there training, with the top level team, and they're kicking the snot out of him. Yeah, it's not much fun, and so, he just, and he's one of the best players that we've ever produced in the United States. So, that culture shock of, professing you want to be in the top club is not quite as easy. It's a lot easier to say it than it is to actually do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Not to say you can't. Okay. But it's an uphill, it's a huge it's a mountain to climb.
Absolutely.
And what Niko said is 100% true. He just gave you an example of how much time and research and effort he put into making this decision, which is kind of similar to what you should be doing if you're making a college decision, right? If you're a young player trying to make a college decision, that same amount of time, energy, effort, and research should go into where you're trying to play, in college. Well, after he sat down and met face to face with him, it seemed like a good thing,
Yeah.
Okay. And at that point, it's like being a goalkeeper, right? Dealing with a cross. Do I stay here or do I go get it? Okay. And once you make that decision to go get it, you go get it. You don't, there's no looking back. There's no second guessing. There's like, oh shit, I should have done this or that. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But we know that as goalkeepers, right? Because we've all done it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, once you've got everything sort of sorted and figured out, and your pathway forward charted, and you've made the decision, you go, and so, this is all, and like he said, there's a lot of, oh yeah, well, we're affiliated with Barcelona, why? Because your mailing address is Barcelona, Spain. We used to get, I used to laugh. I'd look at resumes from coaches before who said, I was involved with the youth team or I was involved with Manchester United's team. Well, you know what? I grew up in Boston. Okay. I went to a couple of Red Sox games, but I don't say I was involved with the Red Sox organization.
Of course you were.
Yeah, exactly. But you get a lot of that, unfortunately, in soccer, and you have to do your due diligence to make sure you don't get trapped.
Yeah. And I think too, with the online programs now, like as college coaches, we can follow people. And I get this from my kids. And this is before, I accepted my role at the university. And it's like, my kids would come up to me and, oh, such and such college is following me, and Ohio State's following me, or Virginia Tech's following me. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. Oh, it does. It does. They're looking at my highlight reel. And I'm like, you have 3 highlight reels. They're not going to watch it every single day.
Right.
Right. Following you means you're somewhere in their interest, but it doesn't mean they're recruiting you. So, I mean, like, how do these kids navigate that? Because in my opinion, between the follows, which I feel, in my opinion, are sometimes misleading. Then again, if we're really interested in people, we keep an eye on them just to see if they've committed or, et cetera. But how do you like, what is your recommendation to these kids on how to manage that and not get overly excited, but also when they get the blast to come to ID camps, how do you pick an ID camp that makes sense and it is going to get the most money? And the only reason I say that is because I've coached at ID camps, and I've had the goalkeepers, and they come up and they don't even know how to catch a ball. And it's like, why are you here? Why did you spend $180 in your entire day to be here?
Right. Go ahead, Niko.
With that, it also depends what level you're at. Because, for example, if you're a sophomore in high school and you want to go to a Maryland ID camp, coach can't talk to you. So that's a big thing. There are some colleges you can go to D2, D3, NAIA. I can recruit you when you're 12. Like that's perfectly legal, which is insane. But there's also those times where if the coach is actually interested in you, they can say, okay, here's a fee waiver, come for free. Yeah. But at like you're going to D1, D2 level, they may not do that because they can't talk to you. And the official rule is for NCAA D1, and I possibly might be D2, is they cannot talk to you until the first day of your junior year of high school. And that is the day after your sophomore year ends. So if I finish my sophomore year of high school, June 5th, on June 6th, that coach is able to talk to me. But if you call them at their office phone, they even have on their recording, hey, if you're born before this day, I can't talk to you, leave a message, but no, I can't talk to you. So they're listening, but they just can't contact you directly. So when you're making that decision to go to that ID camp, just know like you have to understand the situation. You can't take everything to heart because there are some rules set where you got to work with the situation. Again, everything's very comparative. But I mean, going to the ID camp, do your research on a school. Like Evie said, if you get hurt and you can't play again, is that somewhere you want to be for academics? Is there like that's somewhere you want to play? It's not like going to Rio Grande, Ohio and playing for Scott. Like you go to Rio Grande, they're one of the best teams in the country. But the only thing around there is Bob Evans' like original farm. And it's literally 500 acres of farm. There's nothing there. It's a ghost town. So, I mean, once you're done there, like, are you still cool with being there? That's a big thing.
Yeah.
But do your research on the school, do your research on the program, and really think about, is this where I want to go? This is where I want to spend like 3, 4, 5 years, depending on your situation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's all true. And I think one of the biggest things that I tell my kids is you need, by your junior year, have your top 20. Going into your senior year that summer, have your top 10. But you need to be messaging all those coaches, not once, not twice. It needs to be a genuine message, not like copy, paste. We can tell the difference. And you need to ask them about ID camps if that's really where you want to go, because you recruit the school doesn't always recruit you.
More times than not, that's the case. You recruit the school that you're going to. Yeah. Yeah. And, I think ID camps are great if you're a freshman or sophomore, and this is you're looking at it for a day or a day and a half of training. Okay. And to get an idea of what college is kind of like, what it's like. Then, as you say, as you get to your junior and senior year, you might go to an ID camp of a school that is on your top 10 list, because again, you'll at least get on campus and you'll have an idea of, you may find out, wow, this campus is too big, or this campus is too small, or, like, I like Bob Evans, but not every day, so you got to, those are all things that you have to research. And, in certain situations, the ID camps are great, but be advised that ID camps are money makers for the coaches, and which is fine. I mean, I don't begrudge anybody making money, but make sure that it's something that you're aware of, number one, and number two, it fits with what you've chosen, if that's a school that's on your radar. The other thing I would say, and you brought it up, Amanda, guys, they're following you because they want to make sure that if they're going to recruit you, you are of stellar character. Okay. All right. They're checking out your Twitter and Facebook and Instagram pages, because if they see you as at age 17 with a red Solo cup full of beer, see you later.
Yeah.
A college coach doesn't need those problems.
And and I think we could bring into a lot of controversial issues between COVID, the civil unrest. It's not that we, coaches don't want to see you support that, but if you're encouraging violence, you're retweeting protests that could be perceived as violence. I believe Marquette, somebody lost a full ride there. I believe there was a few Virginia programs, just people retweeting or sharing their opinions. There was the guy, was it with the LA Galaxy, the MLS guy? His wife was sharing stuff.
Yes.
And he was kicked off and lost his pro contract.
Yeah.
So, how important is it with your representation? And I want to ask another question in a minute to build off of this one to both you guys, because we're all goalkeeper coaches here as well. But how important is that, just going off what you were just sharing there, Eric?
It's key. And it's kind of the old John Wooden thing, right? Back when he was coaching basketball and Kareem Jabbar was playing for him, there was the same racial strife and protests against the Vietnam War at the time, and the kids would, it's in his books, it's, and they write, the team went to him and said, we want to miss practice today so that we protest whatever they were protesting. And his answer was, I firmly understand your position and I respect your position, but you have to respect my position as a coach. If you miss practice today, you're not playing this weekend. So there's a consequence to your decision, right? And he didn't make it so that they felt bad about themselves. His point was, think this through, and if this is the thing that you're, steadfastly engaged in and want to do, fair enough, but know that, not everybody thinks the way you do. And also know that, as your coach, if you're not at practice, then I'm not going to give you playing time,
Yeah.
So protest all you want, but make sure you do it so that it impacts you at, as least as possible. Well, kind of the same thing with your social media. Make sure, nobody's saying don't be yourself, but make sure that if you're in a position where you're trying to impress somebody and there's reward for you down the line, that you're presenting your best self, because as I said, college coaches, we haven't, you get a kid for 4 years, everybody has problems in college. That's what college is for. College is a glorified summer camp, so you can go there, screw up, and don't get thrown in jail, right? That's why parents send their kids to college, right? And so, college coaches deal with that stuff every day, but they don't need additional problems, and they're not going to recruit additional problems, because I don't care how good the player is. At some point, you're, as a college coach, particularly, you're like, I don't need this stuff. I don't need this hassle.
If I may add, just completely aside from the game, every action has a reaction, especially with social media, because once that stuff's on the internet, if you delete it from your profile, it's still out there somewhere. And someone can and will pull it back up. But also the other thing is, aside from the game, even if you have an appropriate social media or inappropriate, you don't know who's watching. Like, for example, I wasn't even trying, but GNC reached out to me to be an ambassador for their student rush program, just by looking at my social media. I had nothing to do, and here comes this big company and they're looking at you, and you don't want one derogative picture or post or the wrong set of words to make you lose an opportunity you could have had.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. And I think so it's one aspect, I think, of representing yourself on social media. But for me, when I'm recruiting, or even when I'm mentoring and coaching kids that are in my academy, I like going to their games and seeing them lose. Now, I don't like the fact that they're losing, but I like to see how they respond to failure. I like to see it in my practices too. And in my practices, that's my platform. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way. That's where I can mentor them in private, one-on-one or in a small group session, and kind of talk to them on how to process that. But the reasoning for that is because when they're in a game, I want that, whoever that college is that may be coming out to see them play knows that, hey, one, we're all human, but they know how to manage their emotions. They know how to pick themselves up. They don't let their emotions rule them. But there's many kids out there that don't, or they continue to struggle. But more than that, disrespect, absolutely disrespectful. And I've been in situations where players have chucked a ball at my head because they didn't like what I say. They've yelled at me in front of the entire team, or even the parents. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, guys. How can a parent cause their child to lose out on an opportunity? And how can a kid's attitude lose out on their opportunity? And do college coaches follow up and do their research, not just on social media, but on how the parents are and how the kid is in practice with the team and in games, and how they treat their peers and coaches as well?
You're first, Niko.
All right. Let
You're
the young
always,
guy go
you're
first.
always
fired.
first, dude. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Hey, if you're not first, you're last.
That's right. And
Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
I'll take
Sorry,
it.
Nick. I had to give you a little bit of American culture.
All good. Yeah, but I mean, definitely the parents' actions can take a direct effect if you're going to be recruited. A lot of the times, just as like say you're getting called to the national team, it's not always like the national team coach is going to call you. They're going to call your coach and get the scoop on you. Same thing goes for recruiting for college. If I'm going to Jeff Cup and I'm recruiting you, like that sheet that your team hands out, I'm not going to be calling you directly. I'm going to talk to your coach first. I'm going to say, what's the kid like? I'm going to tell me straight up what he's like. Can he play? Yes or no? And then I'm going to ask what's their like home situation like, just because that always plays a factor. Because coming from a club coach, I've had those parents that want to coach. And I always have the philosophy, if you're a lawyer and I'm a coach, you're not going to tell me how to do your job. You're not going to tell me how to do my job, excuse me. And if you're a lawyer, I'm not going to come to like the courthouse and tell you what to tell the judge. It's not my place. Everyone has a place, and that's just my beliefs. And that comes from actually my mother, who, like, when I was 8, would not talk to the coach for me. She's like, you got a problem? You go talk to him. So me personally, I always grew up with that mentality. And my mom and my dad, they kind of stayed out of my quote unquote playing career, even from a young age, which is, to me, is a good thing. I'm very thankful for that. But all that plays direct effect into it, because if that parent's going to be coming to games and their kid's not playing, I've seen it happen before. They're going to be talking to the coach, trying to email the coach, trying to call the coach. Why isn't my kid playing? He's better than this, this, and this. And that's just giving a coach a headache. Coach doesn't need a headache, because everyone has a role on that team. Some people's role is to play. Some people's to come off the bench. Some people is to be there and be the supporting player and wait for your time to come. And I've been in all those positions, and there's nothing wrong with any of those. But it's the fact of the matter, is this kid going to cause me a headache? Because if you're not the best player on that team and you're not playing, and your parent is giving that coach, like, making their life crazy, I guarantee that kid's not coming back the following year.
Yeah. Yeah. We just want to coach. We want to do our job. We want to coach. We want to mentor you. I think that's one of the things when parents bring their kids to Richmond Goalkeeping Academy, the first thing I say is, hey, listen, one, parents are welcome to sit over there. This is for players and for me to coach. And remember, you're paying me to mentor and give your kid additional training and bring them in this group atmosphere. And I respect if you don't think I'm a good fit. And I encourage you to go find somebody that's a good fit. I'm not going to be a good fit for everybody. But remember, you're paying me. I don't need your additional input to mentor and coach them. And we've taken it a step further, just, lessons learned from peers and friends in the community and just that I've learned. And we this year put in a coach's code of conduct, which is, I'm sure at Tennessee Soccer Club, you have that EV, and at Copper Mine, Niko, you had that. But I mean, for a technical program like us, we felt the need that we needed it for the players, but the coaches, like, these are our standards. And, if you can't sign that paper and live to them, don't come back. But these are standards in life. This is just, we all cross the line, but we all have boundaries, and we need to be aware of those boundaries and respect those boundaries is really what we're talking about. And Evie, I mean, what are your thoughts on what we're discussing here, and how does this impact you?
I mean,
and can it be forgiven if you messed up?
Oh yeah. I mean, yes, for sure. But, part of everything, particularly what Niko said, is, we as college coaches, and again, particularly I've had it with goalkeeping, parents, because, I don't understand why you didn't play my daughter when the girl in front of her was, just a little bit better. I was like, did you hear what you just said? So, you just said the girl in front of her did a little bit better. So, my job as a coach is to play the best player I got,
Write that down 5 times and say it really slow.
Yeah.
Out loud.
Yeah. And but Niko's right. When coaches are recruiting you, particularly goalkeepers, right? I mean, if you're a goalkeeper who's looking to go and play in college, well, we may see you at a tournament, and, but the next thing we're going to do, if you're a goalkeeper, is call the goalkeeper coach, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk goalkeeper, and, what are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? And to me, it always comes down is he or she willing to work? Are they willing to plug at it every day? Because if they are, that for me, that's 90% of the challenge. But part of that is, what, as Niko said, what's the family life like? What are the parents like? I always ask, what are the parents like? Because, you don't need parents, and they do, they get on the phone Tuesdays because, Jenny was not happy with her playing time on Sunday. Well, there's only 11 players happy with their playing time. Those are the 11 starters. And even some of them aren't going to be happy because they get subbed out,
Yeah.
So it's, as Niko was referring to, you just, college coaches don't need that. There's other stuff you got to do, and so, this is all part and parcel of your development, going from youth club to high school to college, and there's no such thing as player coach meetings in the pros. When you go from college to pros, hey coach, can I talk to you about something? I mean, if it's not, if you start going down that road, how come I'm not playing? The coach is going to go, because you suck. You're not, in comparison with everybody else, you're not in the top 15. I'm sorry to say it that way, but that's the case, and so again, I think, as we were starting this discussion, the whole package is what college coaches are recruiting, and, social media and parental involvement and all that stuff is all part and parcel of it.
Yeah, it's definitely huge. So if you make a mistake, maybe you treated a coach wrong, you left him on bad terms, do you think, and you move on to somebody else, do college coaches, are we tight? Do we all pretty much know each other, and we all ask around and do our research to even those past coaches? And can you be forgiven if you make those mistakes as a player or even as a parent?
Oh, sure. I think most leaders and mentors are fully aware of second chances and the need for second chances. There's no doubt about that. You know, third and fourth chances, that's a different thing. You know, again, you know, and it's different in pros because in pros, two things matter: getting a W and getting points. You know, so you can have, you know, I mean, you can have a guy who's just a colossal pain in the ass, but you put up with it because you need he's a good player and he needs the points, or she's a good player and we need the points on the team. But in college, you don't, you know, you get, I'll give you a second chance, but if you screw that up, you know what? There's probably a better place for you than here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'll help you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been really good. I think just one question, I want to wrap this up here, is, you know, can you go pro at NAIA? Can you go pro at D3? Can you go pro at D2, D1? What are your guys' thoughts?
Evie, you want to start or?
No, you go ahead.
Going?
You go
All
ahead.
right.
You're not getting out of this, Nico.
I just wanted
You're the Italy distributor for HPG, so you go first.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. It doesn't matter what level. If you can play, you can ball, you can make it professional, but you also have to be willing to be a part of that process. Like it is a lot. It's a lot of work on and off the field. It's a big mental game. You have to be mentally tough, and you got to be willing to do those bus rides where you get up at 5 a.m, leave, go 6 hours, hang out in the town all day, play a game, get on the bus, come back that same night and not get home till like 4:30 in the morning and have almost a 24-hour day. You got to be willing to do that and go through the process to get to the glory. Not a lot of people can handle that. But if it doesn't matter what level you play at. I know people that just played NJCAA community college gone professional, Division I, NAIA gone professional. There's some people that never played college, just went straight to the pros. But I mean, it just depends on your situation and how much you're willing to work.
I agree 100% with that. It's, you know, if you're good enough, you'll find a way and they'll find you, you know, and it may mean you have to go to, you know, 5 or 6 open tryouts, you know, and you may mean you have to keep banging on the door, you know, but if you're good enough, eventually somebody's going to recognize it and you're going to get a shot. But you look, like Niko said, you got to be willing to pay your dues. You know, if you don't like riding the bus all night, then maybe it's not for you, you know, but again, I always come back to, you know, you do it while you're young, because about, you know, 40 years old, 38 years old, you can't do this anymore. You know, particularly if you're a goalkeeper, you can't do it anymore. And, you know, but you know, as Niko says, if you're willing to put up with the rigors of, you know, the journey, then it's worth it. And you know what, the funny thing is, it may not be worth it. You get on a pro team and you're not a starter, and it may not be worth it at that time, but it pays off later in life in other aspects of your, you know, your business or your coaching or whatever, you know, it pays off. And so, yeah, I mean, anybody can do it. Doesn't, you know, level is not important, because once you finish in college, everybody's the same. And pro teams don't care what you did in college, right? They care what you did 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. And I would say it's the same in college. We don't care what you did in high school.
Correct.
This is new ground. You start, you know, at a new placement. You got to work your way up the ranks.
Correct.
Know? This, you know, just something that Niko, it's sparked something in my mind. Another question, real quick, but I would like Evie, you, and Niko to answer this. What are the typical, most common traits of a goalkeeper that you look for to bring into any college program? Besides work ethic. That should be clear. If people aren't picking up on that by now, they haven't been listening and they need to start over from the beginning. But
yeah, I mean, if I'm a college coach and I'm recruiting a goalkeeper, I'm obviously looking at technical, tactical ability, knowledge of the game, and then how tough you are mentally. Goalkeeping, very tough position, because you're either the hero or you're the villain. And it doesn't matter if the ball got by the other 10 guys, you're going to get the rap for that one goal, and that one goal might be the game And you got to be mentally strong enough to do that. You got to be mentally strong to ride the bench, because in this position, you don't have that chance to come 10 minutes in off the bench and prove your worth. It's either you're in or you're out. So you got to be ready all the time.
Absolutely.
Agree. Yeah, I agree 100% with everything that you just said. It's but you hit the nail on the head, Amanda. That's the first question I ask about every goalkeeper is, are they willing to work? Are they willing to put the time and effort in? And if they are, and are willing to show up every day with their lunch pail and do the work, they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be obstacles in the road, and there's always, as Niko says, there's going to be times when you have a brilliant game and let one through your hands, right? And the most important aspect of that is you got to be able to forget it the next day, because, as Mike Krzyzewski says, you get ready for the next play, right? The next play is the most important. What's done is done. The next play is the most important. So in goalkeeping, the next save or the next ball you got to deal with is the most important.
Absolutely.
If I may make a suggestion.
Yeah.
That part of my game, when I first got to Point Park, I had a terrible habit of just having a really bad attitude with myself and being really hard on myself if I made a mistake. My coach, Jeroen, brilliant coach. He was the goalkeeper coach for the Riverhounds for a number of years. He actually started playing tennis and racquetball with me for two reasons. One, the foot movement mimics goalkeeping. Second, if you mess up on that point, you got to forget about it and go to the next one.
Are you sure you weren't John McEnroe on a few swings?
I was. I have my
I had
moments.
to throw that in there. I thought that's where you were going.
I have my moments, but
how many rackets did you break?
I'm not allowed in the gym anymore. I'm kidding. But no, for mental game, if you're really struggling with that aspect, highly suggest playing tennis or racquetball. It's brilliant. It's changed my game completely.
What about it changed your game?
Mental aspect wise, just calm me down. I don't get as angry anymore. Like, I'm chill. Like, it taught me how to, one, not be so hard on myself and kind of more talk to myself instead of just being down on myself, because then self-confidence just plummets. And then once I get more monotone like that, then I can communicate with my defense and my field players better, and I have a better relationship with them too. So overall, communication and mentality, it improves it. And then footwork, it just improves it, and hand-eye coordination as well.
I would also think the ball's coming at you so many times so fast, you can't think about what you just messed up on. You got to keep going.
Exactly.
Right.
That's one of the trainers.
That's smart. How about you, Evie?
Well, Niko's right. What a lot of people don't know is in 1974, 75, when Sepp Maier was the national team goalkeeper for Germany, won the World Cup, all that kind of stuff. He was one of the, I think he was ranked number 2 amateur tennis player in Germany. And that was, this was back before cross training and all that kind of thing. And he did it because if you watch him play, Sepp Maier ran to saves, and his footwork was exactly the same as tennis. And, the fact that, as Niko says, you're playing on a court, your footwork is almost exactly the same. It's almost exactly the same area that you have to cover. And you're dealing with a ball that's coming at you. So there's that aspect of it. And you're dealing with, your next shot, and you have to remain under control to get the ball back into the court on the other side to keep the rally going, so it's, and, as I said earlier, you can play it your whole life. It's a great life sport that, my dad played till he was 92,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It's just something that you can do forever. And it's, it's better than jogging.
Absolutely. Yeah. Saves your knees a little bit more, right?
A little bit more. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on here and giving your time. Any final thoughts or suggestions for our listeners, and whether parents or players? Niko?
Yeah. So, love the game. The minute you stop loving it, stop playing it.
I'd agree 100% with that. And I want to wish Niko the best over there in Rome, and hope everything
Thank
works
you.
out for you, because it's, you're living the dream, but you're also, you're doing something that given the opportunity, you grabbed it and are pursuing it. And it's a wonderful thing. And I hope I hope it all works out for you.
I really appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you, V.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys.